Evening, everybody. It's 5:39 on the last day of January, and today was kind of a mess. Um, and it was basically the Fed. I thought that the writing was on the wall. I didn't really think that anybody really actually believed that there was going to be a March rate cut. And Mr. Powell came out and explicitly said, nope, don't look for it. So the market tanked. Not that it was particularly strong to begin with. I mean, we had the earnings yesterday, last night from AMG and Google and Microsoft, and um, today the Microsoft was down 11, Google down almost 12. AMD acted the best after being down 8 to being down only 4.5. But they really didn't like the rate issue, and they started, they were already selling. Then, of course, it hit everything. Okay, so the Dow was down 317 or 0.82. The biggest loser was the Russell, down 48.89 or 2.45, followed by the Nasdaq down 345.89 or two and a quarter percent. That was followed by the transports down 260 and a half or 1.65, and the last but not least, down 79.32 for the S&P 1.61. There were a couple of bright spots. I call Paramount a bright spot because we own it in the stocks for um, total return, and it got as high as 1710 this morning pre-open on the announcement that Byron Allen was going to be a buyer of the entire company. When it sold off a bit after that, because it's a very complex situation, and it hasn't been made clear whether he's just buying all the Paramount stock or whether he's buying the 70% interest in that through the private company, National Amusements, that Sherry owns. But the high was only 1570. The low was 1457, and the last right now in extended hours is 1490, and that's up $1.22. So closer to the low than the high, but not by much. Boeing was a bright spot with a big beat. This morning, when I mentioned it, it was basically unchanged. Right after the open, it was up $2 or $3, but it ran from last night's close of 200 spot 44 up to 213.77, and the last there is 211.04, and that's up 1060 or 5.3%. We had that New York Community Bank with a big miss. It was down to 470 in the pre-market, and I give you these numbers, but you should understand that they're always going to be warped because there's not a lot of volume or a lot of participation. It's usually people, you know, selling at the market, and they really take them apart. In this case, the low was, as I said, $4.70, but in the real market, the low was $5.58. That might not seem like much, but it's 20% higher. It got as high as 718, which was lower than where it was this morning. This morning, when I told you it was down, it was 749, down 289, and it never even got there. I mean, it opened at 599, rallied up to 718, and then collapsed again. The last on that one is 666, down $3.72, or just short of 36%. After the close, we had Qualcomm, and Qualcomm had a beat, and it was discussed initially as uh, increase in sales in the higher end handsets, phones. The stock had closed 148.51, up 253. It got as high as 154.69, and then during the conference call, I guess there were some people who didn't like what they were hearing, and it got all the way down to 143 and change. The last on it right now is 147.85. That's up $1.87. So that one has somewhat come back. It's come back a long way from 143, but it's also a long way down from that 155. It's kind of also right in the middle, down about 2/3 on the range. Align, the braces company, you can't see them plastic braces. They had closed at 267.32 before earnings, up 258. The stock rallied up to 315, and the last on that one is 296.20, and that is up 31.46, or just under 12%. And one that I neglected to mention this morning, which was Rockwell Automation. Not the aerospace company anymore. Rockwell Automation does things like the thermostats in your home and control type equipment and switches. It had closed at 307.22 and had a huge miss. The stock had a high on the day of 272, so down roughly 35. It got as low as 253, and it hasn't bounced much. It's 250. The low was 252. The last is 253.28, and that's down 53.94, or 18%. The chart on the screen is the oil. We closed out our position today in the XLE. The options account is up 7% on the year to date. So for the month, I'd like to do that every month. But the oil came down. I was not happy with seeing it down here. And frankly, with stocks going lower, we got into trouble in this trade early because I was playing the oil, but we did it with the stocks, and the oil reversed $5 while the stocks went down. So I didn't want to be in a down market in stocks while oil was also falling. Closed 75.85. That was down $1.97. Nat gas was up 2 cents at 210. The gold was 2067.40, and that is the area that I've been pointing out as an area of some resistance. It was closed up $16.50, but let me just show you what I'm talking about. Although there are a lot of divergence. So here we had a higher high and a higher low. This is the area that I was talking about. We did get up there. The high today was, let's see, high today was 2074.60. What's difficult about this chart is the fact that we are into resistance in here, and the MACD crossed to the upside in a positive way. We crossed, as I said yesterday, we crossed the 5 through the 20-day, which is a reversal of trend. And today we went through the 50-day. So it's leaning towards the upside. This is a nice, a blow off top, all-time new high, coming down here, spending 3 days closing below 2000, and this is a higher low, and this is a higher low. If we came out of here, we could in fact see 21 or 2200 on this one. Bitcoin was down 1,075 after the last couple of days. I certainly don't mind that. The dollar was down 13 cents at 103.09, and the bonds, which were up over 2 during the day, closed up 1 1/8. Tomorrow is Thursday being claims day, but we also have some economic numbers. we have the uh, initial and continuing claims. We also have preliminary Q4 productivity and unit labor costs. And at 9:45, those are all at 8:30. At 9:45, we have the global U.S. manufacturing PMI. And at 10, we have construction spending and January ISM manufacturing. So we're jam packed. And of course, tomorrow after the close, we have Amazon, Apple, and Meta. All right, folks. Glad we had a good showing today. Glad we're out of the ones that we're out of. And I'll be back first thing in the morning.